Hey guys, welcome back to Fix It Friday. My name is George and I'm here to talk about repairing and restoring retro video game systems. So for this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the Game Boy family of consoles and very specifically the Game Boy Pocket. So what you see here before me are three different Game Boys, the original, the Game Boy Color, and the Game Boy Advance. And you'll notice that all three of these have a backlight, and this is something that I did to my own systems over time, and it just makes using them that much more enjoyable. It took Nintendo a really long time to start adding backlights as a default feature in their portable consoles. It took all the way until the Game Boy Advance SP, and so within recent years, modders have figured out ways to backlight all of these systems so that you get a nice crisp image and just makes it way more enjoyable. So today we're going to be talking about the Game Boy Pocket, and this is a system that was released by Nintendo kind of like here, like towards the end of the life of the original Game Boy and just around the time that the Game Boy Color was being released. So basically it's a monochrome Game Boy, but it's a lot smaller and compact and easy to use. There is a backlighting and biverting option available for this system, but it's actually quite difficult to do, and it's really easy to destroy your original screen. And nowadays there's an option that you can buy. It's available on console5.com, and it allows you to install a modern screen. It's totally reversible, and it's actually a very nice beginner project, and that's what we're going to be going through today.
Okay, we're going to start by disassembling the case, and you begin with removing 6 tri-wing screws, and they're all positioned there where I'm showing you. And I already took care of that in the interest of time, just to have the assembly go a little quicker. And then once you do that, the case just snaps open, and these pockets are real simple to disassemble. You just have 3 screws down on the lower half of the board that you need to remove. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is take the flat flex cable off and separate the screen from the board. So you take your fingernail or some sort of tool and pull those bails upwards, and then I usually use a screwdriver and just pull and disconnect the cable. And then I take the power switch and set it aside, and then the board should just come right off without any issues. And now what you gotta do is just set aside all of your membrane pads and your buttons, just so that they don't go flying once you start taking things apart. And now to remove the screen, you actually have to kind of twist the plastic a little bit because it's stuck with an adhesive. And so you just kind of twist it side to side and free up a corner. And then I usually get my thumb under there or some kind of tool, and then you can just pull it right off. Okay, so we're going to also remove the original screen cover because we have a glass replacement that also has the right size cut out for it. So you just push on it and it'll come right off. Now here's the new glass screen. So you got to peel off all the protective coverings, and I usually use a tweezer to do this, and you have to just be very careful. You don't want to touch the inner part because if you put any smudges or fingerprints on it, you're going to see those all the time, and it's going to be really ugly and annoying. So just make sure you never touch the inner part with your fingers. Either that or use gloves. Okay, so from here now, we're just going to slide this right in. It's a perfect fit. It has adhesive on it, so all you have to do is just kind of push it into place, and that's it. Okay, so here's the screen, and I'm just going to remove the protective covering on that as well. And in this shot, I have it incorrectly placed in the bracket. So here you can see I flipped it over. This is the correct way to do it. And the screen with the 3D printed bracket fits perfectly in the center. So all I have to do is just push it in and snap it into place. And then when you flip it over, you should see that it lines up perfectly. There we go. And so the flat flex cable is going to pull up like that, like I'm showing you right now. So now we're going to attach the screen to the controller. So you push it in with the stripe facing towards you, and then there's that little brown locking mechanism. You just push that down with your thumb, and that's it. They're together now. Then you flip the controller board over on itself and place it down that way. There's some tape on the back side of it, so you can put it right up next to the motherboard and you don't have to worry about anything shorting out. So now you kind of have to do this step one-handed, which is a little annoying, but you have to basically start reassembling the board. So start with the buttons, just get them all into position, and they interlock into place. And then once that's all set, then you want to get your conductive pads and put those into position. And again, they have little posts to make sure that they're correctly aligned. So it makes it very easy to put them in. Okay, so now that's done, we're going to slide the board back into its original spot. And you want to make sure that the speaker is locked in there and that the mounting posts are all aligned and everything like that. And once that's all set, then just take one screw and screw the board back into position. And once that's done, everything becomes much easier because you no longer need to hold everything down with your hands. Everything should fit nicely at that point. And at this point, then I put in all 3 of those Phillips screws. Okay, so now we're going to take the new screen and attach it to the board, and so it's pretty easy. You just have to take your hands and slide it into the bracket. It might take 1 or 2 tries. Sometimes the bails come down, and if they come down, then it doesn't allow the flat flex cable in there, so you just have to keep them in an open position and then slide it in again, and after 1 or 2 tries, you should be able to get it in just fine. Then you take the bails and you push them down with your fingernails. What I find is that usually when you push one down, the other one goes up. So you kind of have to use both fingers at some point to lock them both into place. And then that's basically it. There's this other little flat flex cable. I have no clue what it's for. I didn't use it at all. So I just kind of tucked it in like that. And then I took the power switch and placed it in position. Okay, so now we're going to be doing some soldering. This is the only soldering you need to do. It's very simple and it's only 2 points. So I started by putting some solder on the ground pad over there, and then I'm going to start adding some solder to this ceramic capacitor. That's going to be our ground, and to this leg of the switch, and that's going to be our 5 volts. And so now I'm going to start with the 5 volt line. So you just bring this into position here and you add a little bit of solder and connect it to the pad. And then we're going to connect the other end to the switch. And I started by trying to use my fingers, but it's really kind of tight. It's a lot easier to just take the tweezers, and it gives you far more precise control and gets everything together. So I just add a little bit of solder to my iron and then bring everything together and join them together. Okay, this is the last wire, so we're just gonna solder to this pad here. And you'll see I just did it very weakly, and so that connection actually breaks, but it doesn't matter. You just have to, make sure that you do a better job than I did right there. But again, it didn't really matter because I just come back and redo it. So here you just heat up the ceramic capacitor and join them together and make a really stable connection on the ground. And once that's finished, then I come in with the tweezers and I position the tip of the wire over the pad and then join them together with the iron. And that's basically it. Then we're kind of done.
Okay, so after doing that soldering, I just reassembled the case. And just so that you guys know, you have to put some pretty decent effort, especially here in these top screws, just to make sure that the case closes really tight, so that way that the power switch actually makes contact with the physical mechanical switch that's on the board. But as long as you take care of that and make sure the seams are all nice and tight, then it actually assembles very easily, and it's a great mod because you don't have to cut the case or do anything, just solder 2 wires. So I've got this one all set up, and I have another unmodified pocket here for comparison. So let me power this guy on. And you can see it's a pretty big difference. So you'll notice the screen on the right, it's smaller in size, but extremely crisp, very clear. No issue seeing it in any kind of light whatsoever. Like here, if I just turn off my backlight here, you can see we can barely now see the Zelda. The other one is just fine. And then if I bring it back now, you can see both. The one drawback to this particular screen is that this guy is definitely bigger. But personally, I think that's a worthwhile trade-off because this screen is so clear, so easy to see. The only other odd thing I noticed is when you power it off, there's a bit of a lag between powering it off and the screen actually de-energizing, but honestly, that's also not a big deal to me. So yeah, I highly recommend this mod. This is really great for beginners. If you buy it from Console 5, you get absolutely everything you need. You get this nice glass screen protector too, which matches the correct size of the new screen. And again, this is all totally reversible. You can save your parts and put it back the way it used to be. Okay, so thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.